Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 12. I am Janice Cobham, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Let's take a look at the headlines. Federal government confirms planned inauguration of 650,000 BPD Dangote refinery. Presidential Election Tribunal begins pre-hearing of 2023 polls today. Plus, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky compares Russia to Nazi Germany, proposes moving victory day. We will bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. Many thanks for joining us on the 12 o'clock news once again. First in the news this afternoon, as a report that the federal government has confirmed the planned inauguration of the 600 plant will be inaugurated before President Muhammadu Buhari leaves office. In his tweet, Special Assistant to the President on Digital Communication, Bashir Ahmed, who confirmed the development, stated that efforts by the federal government to make Nigeria self-sufficient in local refining of crude oil to save the scarce foreign exchange used in the importation of petroleum products have received a boost as the 650,000 barrels per day Dangote refinery, the world's largest single-train refinery, is set for inauguration on May 22, 2023 by President Buhari. Meanwhile, the federal government has said all Nigerians fleeing the insurrection in Sudan but got stranded in social development. Nasi Sani Gwazo stated this when he received another batch of Nigerian evacuees at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport, Abuja. Sani Gwazo said a total of 834 Nigerian evacuees were so far evacuated and brought back to Nigeria from Egypt and Port Sudan in 5 days. He said the first batch, comprising 282 evacuees, second batch, 94 evacuees, third batch, comprising 130 evacuees, fourth batch, 131 evacuees, while the fifth, sixth, and seventh batches of 834 evacuees. The permanent secretary noted that no single We move down to judicial matters, where the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, Abuja, has begun the pre-hearing of the petitions challenging the outcome of the February 25 presidential elections. Recall that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, declared that Bola Tinubu of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, polled over 8 million votes to 6,101,533 votes. Meanwhile, the National Industrial Court of Nigeria, NICN, sitting in Benin City at Edo State Capital, has declared that the June 8, 2022 directive of the state government suspending trade union activities in tertiary institutions in the state as unconstitutional, illegal, null and void. Delivering judgment, Justice A.A. Adewemimo ruled that the State Academic Staff Union of Universities, Ambrose Ali University chapter, had approached the NICN through its lawyer Kingsley Obamogwe in a suit to challenge the directive of Governor Godwin Obaseki suspending all unions in the state's tertiary institutions. The suit had the ASU chairman, AAU chapter, Dr. Cyril Onogbusele. Away from that, the Code of Conduct Bureau, CCB, has said that the President-elect, Bola Tinubu, Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima, and 28 incoming governors must declare their assets before May 29. It said other officials, including senators-elect and rep-elect, are expected to declare their assets before June 5, when they would be sworn in. The CCB spokesperson, Veronica Kato, told newsmen in Abuja that asset declaration was an integral part of the swearing-in ceremony according to the law. She disclosed that several elected officials had started picking their asset declaration form at the CCB state offices nationwide and that they were expected to submit the filed copies to the Bureau before the inauguration day. According to her, failure to declare their assets as required under the provisions of the Federal Constitution attracts conviction, removal from office, disqualification from holding any public office, and forfeiture to the state of any property acquired in abuse of office or dishonesty. We move now to another story where the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAB, has filed a contempt suit against the federal government for. SERAB disclosed this in a statement by its Deputy Director, Kolawole Oluwadari, recalling how Justice Oguntonyigbo of the Federal High Court Lagos ordered the federal government in November 2019 to recover life pensions collected by former governors serving as ministers and members of the National Assembly. Justice Oguntonyigbo also directed the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami to challenge the legality of states' life pension laws permitting former governors and other ex-public officials to collect such pensions. The rights group regretted that the government of President Muhammadu Buhari has a court session held in her honor that the judgment has not been implemented. In another development, Kenyan President William Ruto has congratulated the President-elect Bola Tinubu on his victory at the February 25 presidential poll, saying he looks forward to working with envoy sent by Ruto to discuss areas of mutual interest between Nigeria and the East African country. Among other things, the Kenyan leader offered to work with Tinubu to consolidate the long-standing relationship between both countries. In his response, the president-elect expressed his desire to work with the Kenyan president and other African leaders to champion issues of mutual interest, especially in the areas of economic growth, development, and tackling insecurity, in line with his agenda for the Nigerian people. We move now to Africa, where UN humanitarian chief Martin Griffiths has arrived in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, to engage in humanitarian issues related to Sudan. Reports say representatives from Sudan's warring armies have also arrived in Saudi Arabia for their first face-to-face negotiations. The Sudanese. Meanwhile, hundreds of refugees fleeing ongoing violent unrest in Sudan have reportedly crossed the border into Ethiopia. Reports say the situation came as gun battles and airstrikes fled in Khartoum, Sudan's capital, which has been rocked by 4 weeks of fighting, despite the latest ceasefire reports backed between army and paramilitary forces. On the foreign scene now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has compared Russia to Nazi Germany as he proposed moving World War II Victory Day celebrations a day earlier to May 8th in a bill presented to lawmakers in Kyiv. Zelensky said Ukraine traditionally commemorates victory over the Nazis on May 9, but that date has become increasingly associated with a parade in Moscow used by the Kremlin to flex its military might. According to him, it is on May 8th. And still on the foreign scene now, dozens of people have reportedly been killed in ethnic clashes in the northeastern Indian state of Manipur, with mobs attacking homes, vehicles, churches, and temples. Manipur officials say the violence began last week after indigenous communities held a rally to protest against demands by the main ethnic group in the state for tribal status. According to the officials, members of the Métis community, who account for 53% of the state's population, have government jobs and places in educational institutions. Meanwhile, India's Home Minister Amit Shah told newsmen that the situation in Manipur was under control and appealed to the people to maintain peace. He added that Manipur government would consult all stakeholders before taking a decision on the matter. And still to come in the news, Carlos Alcaraz wins Madrid Open title with Many thanks for still being there. Now to the rest of the stories, beginning from our business scene. On business news, Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai has said that for Nigeria to solve its housing deficit, it requires a favorable mortgage policy. El-Rufai made this disclosure after the inauguration of the Gombe Geographic Information System Service Center and performing the groundbreaking of 550 Shango homes and gardens under the Family Home Funds in Gombe State. According to the Kaduna State Governor, the house deficit stands at about 18 million naira, stressing that it was not sustainable to sell houses between 10 million naira and 50 million naira. He noted that mortgage policy would enable buyers to pay in 25 years' time, saying the incoming administration under President-elect Bola Tinubu would ensure single-digit interest between 15 to 20 years. El-Rufai further expressed optimism that states would be given the needed opportunity to operate, adding that states should devise means to survive without Federal Account Allocation Committee. And still in business now, data from the petroleum industry has shown that petrol consumers may pay about 8.4 trillion naira for premium motor spirits, PMS, popularly called petrol, between July and December 2023, at the Fed data from July, noting that the development means the expense by Nigerians for full deregulation, petrol could rise by 6 trillion naira during the 6 months period. Meanwhile, the Group Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Mele Kyari, says over 66 million liters of PMS was pumped daily into the market by NNPC Limited to keep the country afloat. We move now to health, where the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration, the agency's Director General Mojisola Adeyeye, said this in a statement issued to newsmen by its resident media consultant Olushola Akintola in Abuja. According to her, pesticides are applied both indoors and outdoors for the management of pests, vector-borne diseases, and for crop protection, noting that the toxicity associated with the misuse and abuse of pesticides is worrisome as it affects food safety and food security. Adeyeye said the core function of the agency is safeguarding the health of the nation as paramount, disclosing that the meeting held earlier by the agency focused on the proposed phase-out and ban of the active toxic ingredients in pesticides. She added that NAFDAC would collaborate with research institutes and the conduct of research and scientific data generation on pesticides to enable the agency make evidence-based decisions and policies. Still in health, a hematologist and the Secretary General of the Nigeria Cancer Society stated this at a cancer summit held in Lagos, stating that doctors, nurses, psychologists, and every worker in the hospital have a role to play. Meanwhile, a professor of radiology and radiation medicine department, College of Medicine, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Professor Ifeoma Okoye, in her submission said research has shown that the 3 most common cancers in Nigeria are prostate, cervical, and breast cancer. And we move to sports now, where world number 2 tennis player Carlos Alcaraz has retained his Madrid Open title with a 3-set victory over Germany's Jean-Lennart Struff. The 20-year-old Spaniard won 6-4, 3-6, 6-3 for his 4th trophy on the ATP Tour this season and 10th overall. Reports say he will be replacing Novak Djokovic at the top of the world's ranking by playing in Rome next week. And still against Newcastle United at St James's Park, Mikel Arteta's side, who have played one game more than the champions, responded superbly to the pressure exerted by Manchester City's victory over Leeds United to prevail in an action-packed, edgy encounter littered with chances of tyneside. Arsenal, however, showed their strength as captain Nick Pope from 25 yards after 14 minutes. Meanwhile, Arsenal keeper Aaron Ramsdale produced vital stops from Joe Willock and Fabian Schär, with Alexander Isak heading against the post before the Gunners broke clear to wrap up the 3 points Schär. On entertainment news, Nigerian singer Oluwatosin Ajibade, popularly known as Mr. Easy, says he believes Afrobeat is the key to developing Africa's creative economy. The music star made the statement at the 2022 Milkel Global Conference in Los Angeles. The artist, speaking alongside Moa Bodu, CEO of Ebony Live Group, Jakon Osinachi, among others, stressed that in addition to improving, spoke on the challenges in the African music industry, which includes equity participation in terms of investment and infrastructure. And lastly, this afternoon, still in the entertainment sector, Nollywood actress Joke Silva has encouraged Nigerian filmmakers to take a page from Tyler Perry's and invest in studios. The actress shared her thoughts on Nollywood during a youth development forum in Lagos State. According to her, the industry needs studios and sound stages in order to produce movies properly. She added that it is unacceptable to use her home as a movie set, having about 20 strangers at a time. And that's what you can find on our website at spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 12. My name is Janice Cobham. Do you have a good afternoon?